This is Katie.
And this is Derrick.
Welcome to the break room.
What's up? What's up? This is Derrick.
This is Katie.
And welcome to the break room. Yo, the bell is rung. The door is open. Have a seat. Pull your chair up because we got another wonderful conversation today around experiences. I can think when I was a student in middle school and high school. Matter of fact, I can go all the way back to elementary school, kindergarten, Mrs. French.
Miss French, can you reach out to her?
I don't even know where she is.
Okay, we're going to find her.
We're going to find her, Miss French?
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be fun. I think it was Miss French. Miss French, yep. Had Miss Bugs, Miss Young, Miss Diggs, Miss French. Anyhow, I remember it was the first time I used a hot plate.
Ooh.
Come on, we're talking about 86.
Okay, this is exciting.
She brought a hot plate to class.
Yeah.
And we all made pancakes.
Ooh, on the hot plate.
On the hot plate.
Ooh, that's fun.
I mean, this was back with like metal slides. This is the
Kindergarten.
The merry-go-round, the monkey bars. I'm talking about kids was like getting broke arms in recess.
Tetanus. We needed lots of tetanus shots.
Yeah. But I still remember that to this day, like making, pouring the thing on there. And then we would count back from 30 as kindergartens. It was really cool.
Right.
And then when you got to 3, 2, 1, you flip them, boom. And then we count for 15 on the other side. And then you would go get your syrup. And while you was eating, the next kid was making their pancake. It was so cool.
Of course. And you remember it. How old are you?
I am 41.
I'm 41.
And I was 5 then.
Right. So you remember that.
Yeah. And I have so many memories just kind of up throughout the years that have impacted me like throughout my lifetime.
Sure.
So as teachers, like how important is it for us to create experiences in the classroom that will last a lifetime?
Well, I think you just nailed it. The pancakes. You remember it. So I do a PD with teachers that I make them think about their experiences in the classroom that lasted a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
And then they get so excited about sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, think of one in elementary. Yours would be the pancakes.
Mm-hmm.
Think of one in middle school. Think of one in high school.
Wait.
Okay, you're going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
Okay. I already have mine. I mean, you're thinking, I'm going to tell mine.
Okay,
so I remember in Miss Rodriguez's class, first grade, we got to do the whole Read Across America thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we got one day where we got to write. We got to wear our pajamas and we got to bring a pillow and a blanket and we got to use a flashlight and we got to curl up somewhere in the room and we got to read our book by flashlight.
What?
Yes. And I just remember, like, I was over by the coats, like in an elementary school where everybody has to hang their coats.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember snuggling into the coats with my blanket and my hot chocolate and thinking it was the coolest day ever. So that's my elementary.
What about middle school?
Middle school, I remember having like a meeting of the minds.
Okay.
And I had to be Abe Lincoln in front of my
Get to
peers.
be a blanket?
No. I had to.
I was like, what? It's very mystical and philosophical and experimental. Be Katie. Be a blanket. And you're like standing there like,
like it's.
I misheard you. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I said Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, Abraham. That's so much better than a blanket. Abe Lincoln?
Abe Lincoln.
Did you have a beard?
Oh, yeah.
The hat?
I had to, because you got extra points if you dressed up.
Shut up.
So I had my dad, and my dad's a big guy, right? I had my dad's coat, and it like went way past like my knees.
That's
and
classic.
and I had a big hat, and I had a beard, and I got up and was like, for school. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I remember it. And I remember some of my classmates getting up there.
Ooh, what were they?
There was a George Washington. There was a Martin Luther King Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, and we had to guess. We had to be like, that's Dr. King.
Yeah.
That's, Anyways, it was cool. And then high school, I did a mock trial class.
Okay.
And I loved being the defense attorney.
Ooh.
I would get so excited to look at my new case. Mm-hmm. And nobody, like there were some people who just like, they didn't want to be the attorneys. They wanted to be the jury.
Okay.
Because that's the easiest thing to do.
Guilty.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we were all set up in the library and it was one semester and it was so fun. I loved it.
Do you remember, was it freshman year, sophomore year?
Sophomore year.
Sophomore year. My elementary for me was pancakes. Middle school was in English class. We had to keep a journal and we would write in the like the first 5-10 minutes of class. I guess the teacher used it as a way to zero entry into the lesson plan of the class period or whatever it was. But boom, sit down, you came in, grab your journal, you flip through, grab yours, sit down, and you could write whatever you want to write. And I had this crush on this young lady, and I would write about her in my journal every day. And you got an opportunity to stand up in class and read your journal.
This is so romantic. Did you read it to her?
I read it to the whole class, but everyone knew who it was. Like,
like you didn't mention her name. Like she was sitting there and you're like.
She was in class and everybody was like, ooh. And I was like, eyes deep brown as a field of wheat. You know, I'm like, I'm just going in.
That's poetic.
It was. And I think that kind of struck my interest in like writing and poetry just because I've always been creative, like a creative kid, but seeing the response of the people was like,
we're like,
oh, like, am I good at this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Wait, the rest of the story is, did you guys get booed up?
No. I was not anyone's type in middle school.
Oh.
I was 4 foot nothing. I was super round. I had this high top with this ducktail that was like, and I wore this hoodie jacket all the time. I was
middle school.
I was the epitome of friend zone. Like I was the brother.
You were friend zone.
I was.
Listen, I really like you as a friend.
Yeah. And she went on to have kids and get married and things like that. I don't know that she actually dated like anybody. I think she probably did, but I didn't know about it because I wasn't part of that crowd. But
how brave of 12-year-old Derrick to get up and do that.
Yeah, like that. I think that's kind of like that has gone throughout my just getting up. Never really thinking I was the best, but knowing I wasn't the worst. And so, like, getting up was never an issue.
Okay, friends, teachers, principals, if you are listening to me right now, Derrick Sire is one of the most dynamic speakers and facilitators in the world.
Thank you, Katie.
And that was not hyperbole.
That's a friend drop right there. She just kind of
reach out. He can do him some stuff.
I appreciate it. So, poetry in middle school and high school. It was choir. And me and 3 guys in middle school got together and we created a boy band group.
Yes, you did.
Called Mystical Melodies.
Mystical Melodies.
Mystical Melodies.
This is so much good tea.
And at the end of our songs, we always, like, we get up there and they'd be like, and we wait for the crowd to get quiet. And then we had the bass guy. He was like, this was brought to you by... And they'd be like, mystical. And they'd be like, melodies. And there was a guy that he would go. And we did that forever.
I'm a fan.
Even into high school, it was like, this was brought to you by. And everybody like they just knew it was coming. It was fun. We were the people that would huddle around the piano in the hallway during lunch, and we were singing and snapping and stuff. It was really cool. Anyhow, that's not the story.
Tell me that there's video of this.
We have a few videos, but back then it was like all camcorder.
Right.
And then once the camcorder got old, you had to convert the camcorder to CD, and then download the CD as a file and then upload it to YouTube to share the link. And so it's too many steps and people don't care that much.
I care that much, but okay.
Anyhow, I remember I was just kind of this guy that I always knew if there was something better happening, then I would let the person who was better do it. And my teacher was like, oh, no, you can do it too. And I was like, ooh, no, he's like the singer or he's the person. And I wish I would have like embodied some of this adult confidence then. I wouldn't say that I'm super confident now, like overly confident, but I know like my lane. I know my lane. And I'm confident in that lane. Anyhow, there's this story called the Pie Song, and it was what is like. Ain't no girl, dun, 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 dun.
That was fire.
And then you would have one person that would step out and be like, and I like a sweet potato pie. And then somebody else would be like, and I like a lemon meringue pie. And somebody else would come out and be like, and I like, and they would say all their pie. And then they'd be like, there's no girl like the pie that I like, right? It was like, we kind of did this thing. And I remember being selected to be one of the pie people. And I felt so encouraged and so like empowered that my teacher was like, she could pick 4 out of the group of guys. And I was one of them.
You're a pretty decent singer that you just like showed us your vocals.
It's just a little bit, you know.
It's pretty good.
I'm not blowing, you know.
I mean, it's pretty good.
I can overnote though.
I like it.
So when we think about like teachers creating these experiences, right? Miss French in elementary school for me, right? Miss Gibbons in middle school giving us the journal, and then Miss Bay Youth in high school, who's my choir teacher, all of them creating experiences that have like empowered me and taught me lessons that have rippled throughout my life. Do you remember the names of your teachers?
The ones that created the experiences? Yeah. So Miss Rodriguez. In middle school, it was Coach Wood. She was my basketball coach.
Yeah.
She was an English teacher. And I'm friends with her on Facebook. Hey,
Hey,
girl.
how you doing?
And high school, it was Miss Staley. And Miss Staley, I don't think is with us anymore, but she was just one of my favorites.
So when you do your trainer, your teacher training, what's the purpose of having them reflect on these experiences?
Well, it's just like, I mean, I'll have somebody say, oh my gosh, I remember, and they always know their name.
Yeah.
They created a rainforest, and there was like there was a rain stick, and there was this, and she's like, I don't actually remember what I was learning, but I remember walking in and having the best day. And it's always a teacher. It's always that teacher. Like, you remembered yours. It's always that teacher that's created something. And is it, you know, I don't remember the, you know, conjugating verbs or like, you know, but I remember those experiences. So you can be that for your students.
Yeah.
Is it a lot of work? Heck yeah.
It is.
But it is so worth it. Like, it pays dividends. So for example, I teach about Anne Frank, and we have a funeral for her at the end.
Ooh.
So, and I black out my windows. I have a candle for each person in the annex who passed away. And we switch off their lives, and we have funeral music playing, and I have kids, and I do this in the spring. So I already have established my family classroom.
And trust.
Yeah. And I got, you know, 6'4" football players bawling in my classroom.
Wow.
Because Anna's their friend.
I got chill bumps.
Yeah. And so I went to a graduation, and he one of the kids who's got a full ride scholarship to Houston to play football, ran up to me,
swallowed me up,
and just said, hugged me, and you know, some tears from him, and he said, "You still making people cry with that Anne Frank?" I know. And
wow.
I'm like, yeah. He's like, good job. So
Katie's not 6'4", by the way, for those of you that cannot see us, who don't know.
I have nothing.
Swallowed up.
Yeah. And I just,
so cool.
Yeah. And I'll have kids now because, you know, now I'm old, and some of my kids that I've had are adults. But I'll get tagged in things that say, you know, all it takes is one teacher to believe in you, and I'll get tagged in it. I'm a student. And it just, and they'll remember. I'm like, what do you remember? They're like, I remember I had to memorize a poem, and I stood up with the candle of poetry, and I recited it, and we had hot chocolate, and we snap clapped. I'm like, yeah, poetry lounge.
Yeah.
And so what?
That's cool.
What are you? I have loads of assignments like that kids remember how they felt that day, like the pancakes.
Yeah. And I remember being at a conference with you recently, and we were standing at the booth, and a group of kids came up, and she was like, "Miss Kitten, do you remember me?" And you were like, "Oh my God," like just biggest hug, left the booth, walked down the thing, found each other on social media.
Yeah.
Like that impact is amazing.
It is. It's, and It's huge. It means, I probably means more to me than it did to her. But yeah, the fact that she was like, Miss Kinder in the flesh.
Yeah.
Because, they think when they leave middle school that I don't know, I disappear into the whatever. But when they see me in high school or even in college, and I hear from them a lot.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I used to be a youth pastor, and I was always trying to find these like creative ways to make kids remember stuff. And so I made a 12 by 8 feet tall, 12 feet long whale.
Ooh, is this Jonah?
It was Jonah. Out of and the bones of the whale were cardboard boxes, and I like kind of just like cut them in these bones, and I made them stand up, and I covered them with trash bags, and I put a fan in there, and the bags blew up.
They got in.
They got in the whale, and they sat on the floor.
That's amazing.
And I like had this little flashlight, and I was like, and I just started reading, and I was like, can you imagine being in this tight place, no food, no water, 3 days? Like I'm just going through this whole thing. And the kids come, like I still see kids now, married with kids, and they're like, you remember the whale? No. Like, so like you think about the experiences that we create as adults, as caring adults, as teachers, as educators, as influencers. It's very like we can get the immediate gratification in the moment, but what's more powerful is creating experiences that last a lifetime.
Yes.
Yeah. So before we were at the show, I said this name and I said it wrong. So I want you to kind of correct me on who it is, and then give me the quote that you gave me from him. It was Dave
Burgess.
And he said, "Teach like a pirate."
Yeah, he wrote a book called Teach Like a Pirate.
The name of the book
is Teach Like a Pirate.
What does that mean?
Well, it's an acronym and it stands for something.
Oh,
pirate is an acronym.
Oh,
it's like that, but it is all pirate based or whatever. And Dave, I'm sorry, but we'll do a fact check and I'll say what it. But basically, it's that.
It's about experiences.
It's about experiences. It's about what can you create for them that will last a lifetime. And I got a hold of his book and then I loved it. And I was like, how can I do this for ELA? Because he teaches history to juniors in high school.
Ooh.
And so he's like dressing up as Rosie the Riveter. God love him. And, Salem witch trials, like he transformed his room and it becomes something that the kids remember forever.
Yeah.
And so then I kind of became kind of a fangirl of him on Twitter. I'm like, hey, dude. Like, hey, boo. And we actually became friends.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so fun.
So I went to McAllister, Oklahoma to watch him speak.
Yeah.
And we took like a selfie and I was like, I want to do this one day. Yeah. And full circle moment, I'm working with McAllister Public Schools right now.
That's amazing.
And some of the things I've learned in sharing with McAllister teachers, they've heard from Dave.
Yeah.
And he's been really awesome. And he's mentored me and his best friend, Adam Welcome. And so, yeah, they were really instrumental in helping my students. And yeah, it's a lot of work. Cover those windows, get the candles out. It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
One of the things I love about you is that not only do you encourage teachers to like find resources, but like you actually do it. Like you go to the conferences, like not to just teach or not to just facilitate, but like you're a fan, you're a student.
Yes, always.
Even though you're not teaching and you're not teaching students and you're more like instructional for staff and faculty and things like that. Like you're always learning and you're always dropping book titles and educators' names and ways for teachers to get better. And now we got this resource in the break room that's a podcast for teachers. And
yes.
I think that's really, in your book, I mean, Until Teaching Truths, I think that's amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, Derrick has 2 books, but I only have 1.
So that's okay. You're going to have 2 though.
Okay.
You're going to have 2. It's going to have 3. So, of course, we got a question before the bell rings. I know I can always feel when the bell is going to ring.
Me too.
We have a question from another teacher. And this teacher says, a deep sigh. When does it get easy?
Oh.
I want to create these experiences and I want to teach the thing and I want to help the humans and I want to have the impact. But when, Katie K, does it get easier?
I don't know. Year 4. I don't know if it is ever easy. I know that's not what you're looking for, sweet friend, but you can start creating a family classroom in which it's fulfilling. classroom management. You've got the high expectations. You hold kids to high expectations. You've got all these standards. You've got to hit every standard. You're feeling over. Like at some point, you need to decide what's important to you. And that might not be grades every weekend, every Saturday, forever. Mm-hmm. That might be they were there, they were breathing that day, they get 100.
That's a win.
Yeah. And not every assignment, but what can you do to make your life a little easier? Like what? Don't die on all the hills.
Right.
And I think I've said that before on the podcast. Like you've got to pick 3. And one of mine was experience lessons.
Yeah.
Like I was going to create things for kids that they would remember.
Yeah.
So it does get easier in some sense, but is it ever easy? No.
Yeah. Never going to be easy, but it gets easier in some places, some areas, in some sense.
Yeah.
So as Katie always says, we love you. Don't quit. Hang in there. We need you.
We need you.
We know the turnover teacher ratio is horrendous, and it's got worse after
pandemic.
Mm-hmm. And Katie's talked about that before on the podcast. But dear teacher, when does it get easier? Probably never. But in some areas it will. But overall, teaching is tough.
Yeah, and you get better. And
that's good.
Post pandemic, I saw some things I never saw.
Yeah.
But then I learned how to deal with that, and then you see new things, but you get better.
Yeah, that's good. All right, that's the bell. Thanks so much for hanging out with Katie and Derrick in
The Break Room.